Welcome to Wealth Mavericks, the podcast where we help doctors unlock the secrets to building generational wealth. And today, we're talking about taking the road less traveled and having the courage to forge a different path. We are going to walk you step by step through this, and the end result is going to be a much lower tax bill. And then next year it's going to be even better, and it's going to be even better. But we have to do it step by step.
You don't need a coach to be mediocre. Like, you can do that perfectly on your own. That's what most people do. But if you are going to achieve greatness, or if you're going to achieve the things that you probably want in life, it is very helpful to have a coach, to have that perspective.
Hey guys, so I talked to some new members this week on our onboarding call, and something they said to me, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I told you guys before we started recording, and we thought, let's do an episode about it. So it was a husband and wife. He's a doctor, and they're really excited about working with us, but they said, we're a little nervous because no one we know is working with a tax strategist, or we've never met anyone who's worked with a tax strategist. So this is all very new to us. Everyone we know just works with an accountant. So we're a little hesitant, but excited. And so it made me realize, actually, I said this to them on the call. I said, don't we see that a lot in society where the herd goes one way, but there's a fewer people who go the other way. And almost always it's those fewer people who are the happiest, the healthiest, and the most successful. And they really liked that. And it's like, don't you want to be part of that group instead of the herd? And so we were talking about all the examples in our society of that very thing. So we're going to have a conversation about it today, because we do things so differently at Terra Firma. And Bob, you're the reason why. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'd actually like to hear from Joe first. I think there's some good personal development and coaching that I think our audience really needs to hear first, to help understand and build kind of the foundation of this conversation.
Aaron's heard me say this a lot. You don't need a coach to be mediocre. Like, you can do that perfectly on your own. That's what most people do. But if you are going to achieve greatness, or if you're going to achieve the things that you probably want in life, it is very helpful to have a coach, to have that perspective. And I think that's something that we offer to a lot of people, is just like an accurate reflection, like an accurate mirror, just holding up a mirror for people. And I think there's so many different arenas that this applies to. Yeah, it might be working with Terra Firma and doing things differently, having a strategy. I mean, that seems crazy to me, like, to say that that's the different path. It's like that seems like the path that everyone should be on.
Should be taking.
But when you think about all of, we talk a lot about the 5-10s lifestyle. Living the 5-10s lifestyle is not easy. It is the alternative path. Spiritual, family, business, financial, fitness being both emotional and physical wellness. It takes a lot to achieve everything you can in each of those areas. It's a near constant focus of something being set down. I was talking with some founders the other day, and they were talking about, like, when is it going to get easier? And I was like, it's not. It's not going to get easier. Like, you imagine, like, little plate spinners. You guys have seen, like, the circus act with plate spinners. They've got a stick and the plate spinning, and they're constantly going around spinning those plates. And I think sometimes that's what it feels like in life. For you as a doctor, you're busy extending your knowledge and learning more, and then applying the knowledge that you have and helping people. And then if you have a practice, you're running your practice, and you're dealing with the medical board or whatever it might be. It's like all these plates. That's just at work. And then it's, how about paying attention to my family and making sure that I'm staying fit? And what about money? When you start thinking about all that, it's like those plates have to be constantly spun. And that's, I think, what a good coach will help you do is, hey, that plate fell down. You got to put that back up and get it going again. So I think developing the systems that you can in your life to help manage as much of that as you can is a really helpful thing. But I would just encourage people to be thinking about it. Just because something's hard or provides resistance doesn't mean you shouldn't go that route. Aaron, to your point, like many people go that way. It's like they realize, oh, this is just hard, so they stop doing it. That doesn't mean, just because there's resistance doesn't mean you shouldn't go that way. That's sometimes an indicator that that's the path you should take. And again, just look at the herd and where it's going and ask yourself, what do they say? Begin with the end in mind. Look at the end of that path and ask yourself, is that the result that I want? Do I want to? I mean, if we look around, especially in America, we see a highly consumeristic lifestyle, just spending money trying to fill a void. That's probably a spiritual disconnect, not religious, a spiritual disconnect. They're trying to fill a hole that you're never going to fill with that stuff. So, okay, what's the end of that path look like? You're broke, you're in debt, you leave nothing to your kids, whatever that path might be. Physically, overeat, overconsumption and under exercised, no flexibility. Just look at the path that most people are taking. Ask yourself, is that the result that I want? If no, great. What is the path? And that's a lot of the work that Aaron, you get to do and our other coaches get to do, is just to help people spell out, what is the life that you want? Most people, it's odd to me, no one's asking this question. Mm-hmm. What do you want? Mm-hmm. And without getting like too deep spiritually this early in the morning, one of the most common things that Jesus would ask people in the scriptures is, what do you want? It's a powerful question to ask yourself, in each of these arenas. What do you want? Begin to line out what that looks like, and then take intentional steps to get there. Not haphazard steps, intentional. So I just think all in all, it's important for us to begin determining what that looks like rather than just following the herd. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the herd is the right place to go, but I have a lot of other thoughts around it. This applies. It's funny because this applies, like Mandy and I, just in life in general, my wife and I. This is just like shows up in our everyday life. Like if there's a long line at a place, we usually just go, like, what's the short line? Like, how do we get there? Just begin asking those questions as much as you can. Even look at your own profession. As a physician, you were trained in a certain way of doing things through medical school. Is that the right path? Everyone else is going down that path. Is that the right path? Or are you beginning to expand your knowledge? Bob, this is what allowed you to uncover what terra firma is today, is you saw where everyone else was going and you're like, that doesn't seem to lead where most people need to go. I'm going to choose to explore here and see what's there. And what you found was, I think, nothing short of magical. So be inquisitive about those things.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so much. I mean, we could probably do a year's worth of episodes and just this area. And at least for me, I think how do I get started? I think is the biggest question. And I think people get overwhelmed because they think they have to have the end results right now. Right. Because that's what society tells us. And that's how we see things around us. But when we serve our doctors, right, they've given up. We talk about this all the time. They've given up a decade of their life for education. That there's no instant gratification there. Right. But how's that decade, those 10 years broken up? Right. School. Which school? Medical. Or primary, not primary, like elementary, but, your first 4 years, your undergrad. Well, is it all four all of a sudden? No. You got your freshman year. The whole year? No. You have classes you have to take. There's a schedule you have to go to, right? And you're starting with chapter 1. I think a lot of times we forget as we get older and we build up this knowledge in our brain that there's a cheat sheet that all of a sudden we can bypass everything. It's like the Disneyland Fast Pass. No. You got to start at page 1 a lot of times and read that first word. And then once you read that first word, before you know it, you're done with the book. But you can't start in the middle.
So it's like don't get overwhelmed by the how big this can be, that end in mind. That's a really good point.
Yeah. And so I think really where we really need to focus on is a decision. Right. And Aaron, you've seen this before. It's like we've gone through after our, we're in our discovery process with a new member. And the question is, are you ready to commit and make the decision to keep going and move forward? You have to say yes. If you're
Right.
like, well, I don't know, then we're like, well, you come back to us when you're ready to say yes. It's because we're trying to encourage you and mentor you to make a decision. That's your first step. And when you keep doing that, our job, our goal with everything you shared, Joe, is to create good habits in the direction. But you can't have habits until you have decisions. And you can't have all these decisions until you do that first one.
Yeah.
That's it. Let's just focus on this one first.
And
That's
for
like
most of
that's what you just said, I think, is probably the most important thing that will come out of this episode is commit. Just make the decision.
And for most of the people who come to us, the decision to even get in touch is a first decision.
Absolutely.
And the pain that made them do that is like, I'm finally done with paying so much in taxes. I mean, we talk about the 510s, and I love this culture that we've built between us and with our members of just living life and thriving in all areas. But it does start with money. It does start with taxes. And the herd is just every year paying so much to the government and then going back to their peers and grumbling about it. And it's almost like you fit in. It's like friends who complain. Again, we always go back to health. I do, but it's like about being overweight. It's like, oh, darn, I slipped off my diet again this week. And it almost helps you like fit in to just be complaining about the same old things. But it's like insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. And we talk to so many people who are like, yeah, it kills me to pay so much of my hard-earned income in taxes. Okay, you made a decision to talk to us. Now you need to make the next decision. And Bob, I loved hearing you talk with one of our members who was like, you show them the plan and it's like, we are going to walk you step by step through this. And the end result is going to be a much lower tax bill. And then next year it's going to be even better and it's going to be even better, but we have to do it step by step. And he was like, okay, let's do it. But I just want to save on taxes. Like he wanted you to wave a magic wand and just like that, the taxes are, they're gone. And you said something to we can't say it on the pot, but you're like, no, duh, but you didn't say duh. And he laughed, but it's like, of course, everyone wants the quick results, but it does take the work,
And fortunately, there are steps. Aaron, it reminds me of what you're saying. Misery loves company.
Yeah.
And it's lonely at the top. So when you think about those two sayings, misery loves company, like, are you finding yourself just kind of commiserating with other people who are also not living the life that they want? Or are you that one that's charting a path that other people, would desire to be in? And I do love what you're saying, Bob. It's like, and again, everything in my life now is talking about skydiving, because when I get into stuff, I get really into stuff. So like, here's a picture that I'm like pretty proud of.
Wow.
That's me tracking, in the first time that I got to do tracking in skydiving. Well, you don't start there. There is a progression of things that starts on the ground and learning what you need to do in case of emergencies and just drilling it into your head. And I think this is the other thing is, just because there's stuff that you have to do all the time doesn't mean it's always going to be as hard, right? The process of mastery. I think there's a book, I think his name was George Leonard or something like that, wrote a book called Mastery. And I love his definition. It's something like the process whereby that which is at first difficult becomes easier and more pleasurable through practice. I'm like, that's like the first time I skydived, it was a lot, right? I mean, the first time you jump out of a plane, there's a lot coming at you. Now it feels easier for me as I do that. And my body knows what to do because I've been practicing over and over and over. So it's less scary. So I would just encourage people, take that, like commit to take that first step. By the way, when you do this kind of thing, I believe it's easier. It's easier to be 100% committed than 99% committed. Like, make the commitment, like, to go, like, in all of these areas, spiritual, family, business, financial, fitness, make the decision to go all in. What would it look like to love my family all in. What does that mean? What would that look like on a day-to-day basis? What would it look like to take care of my financial house? What would it look like to commit 100% to that? What would it look like to commit 100% to my health, my physical health, my emotional health? Just determine what it looks like and make the commitment. It's where magic happens. Because as Bob said, it's like, then you just take the first step and you're committed to the process, not necessarily the outcome. The outcome is a byproduct of what you do to, on the path to get there. Make that commitment to that first step. So I know we can talk more about this, and we have other episodes that are going to flow from this episode, but I just encourage you today, make that commitment to yourself, to your family, to your business, to your career, what you're doing, and take that first step. Again, if that means engaging with Terra Firma to allow us to help you in your financial journey, we're here for you, and we're here for all of it. So thanks for joining us today. We love recording these podcasts. We love you, Doctor. We love what you're doing for the world, so we want to pour into you. So make sure to join us next time for our next episode. And until then, go be a wealth map.